Welcome back to the 10-second runoff powered by Culture Media with your host, Joe Mitchell, Alec Escade, producer Magic Mikey Shiaza. We made it. Finally made it. Here we are, week 0, sitting right on the cusp of it.
The cusp.
Talk to me about cusp.
That was big.
Not cup or the plural of it, which would be cups.
Cusp.
Like we're right here on the cusp of it. Yeah, we got some fun games this weekend. Fun because there's football being played. I didn't say good games, but we do have fun games. We got our first taste of college football for the year. But before we get into that, we have some news around college football and then just getting into like quarterback situations around the country. First off, we had a bomb out of Baton Rouge.
Yeah.
Maason Smith is not going to be playing in the Florida State game. Why? He is suspended. He's going to be suspended for this one because of a autograph signing. He was making money on his own name, not being paid by the university, which, you know, would be problematic.
For sure. Even now.
Yeah, even now.
Right.
But making money off of his own name because he wrote his name on something and made money for it about the duration of a sneeze before NIL was legal. Somebody sneezed and all of a sudden it was legal now. But yeah, so Maason Smith suspended because he signed an autograph, got paid for it. Here is the sequence of events that happened. He did that, got paid. The NCAA cracked down on it. They said, okay, it was Maason Smith and Kayshon Boutte at the time. All right, y'all are both going to be suspended for a game, but we'll let LSU pick the game you're suspended for.
Right. In other words, let them be,
Yeah. So this happened for many people around the country. It wasn't just Kayshon and Maason Smith. It happened all around the country, and the teams were able to pick the game in which those players would be suspended. Kayshon ended up being suspended for one of those games, and Brian Kelly said he had the flu, right? He may have been sick, but that was the game. That was the suspension game. Well, Maason Smith tore his ACL 8 plays into the season last year.
Right.
So he didn't get the opportunity to be suspended. He sat out the whole year, but the NCAA said, hey, man, you still got to serve that suspension. But now that it's no longer 22, it's just going to be week 1. You don't get to pick anymore.
Right.
Well, that just happens to be one of the 2 most difficult games and most important games on LSU's schedule in terms of playoff implications.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
Okay, so, well, keep going, right? What's the problem here? Who else is picking their suspensions? Like recently, right?
Let's go to Ann Arbor.
Yeah, let's fly over.
Because Jim Harbaugh is currently, as we speak, giving the proverbial middle finger to the NCAA. Mm-hmm. He came out a couple weeks ago.
Proverbial. I'm not hating that.
No, you like that?
Oh, it's not one of my worst. Yeah, that's good.
Jim Harbaugh came out and said, look, yeah, there was a recruiting violation where we lied about buying a cheeseburger for this guy. All fine and good. We are going to self-implement a 4-game suspension agreed upon it with the NCAA. Crazy that you can just agree upon consequences. But he did. Then went back on it, said, you know what? We're not doing that.
How's 3?
We're going to let – no. He said, we're not doing that. We're going to let the NCAA take it to a case in the offseason, which is interesting. I don't know why he didn't just stick with that because everyone and their mother knows he's going to be coaching in the NFL next year. He's been trying to get out of Michigan for 19 years now.
This will be the last year.
Yeah. And so then he comes back after all of that and says, we'll do 3 games.
So they're like, oh, okay. Works.
Self-imposed a 4-game suspension. Went back on that, self-imposed a weaker suspension, and now we have Maason Smith for LSU, arguably one of the best defensive linemen in the country, definitely one of the most important players in that game. You look at both defensive lines. Who are the most important players? You're going to say
Harold Perkins, depending on where you want to put him.
Not a defensive lineman,
right?
But
an edge rusher.
Yeah, but if you look at the 2 defensive lines,
at the interior,
you say Jared Verse for Florida State,
no doubt.
You say Mekhi Wingo for LSU, All-American last year, and Maason Smith.
Yeah, preseason All-American. Yeah.
Well, now Maason Smith isn't playing.
I just thought about how crazy D-line talented both of those teams are.
Oh, no doubt.
But yeah. I mean, and you.
And my biggest problem.
This one makes me real mad.
My biggest problem with this is not that Maason Smith is going to be suspended.
Right.
It's that Maason Smith could not serve the suspension last year because of an injury, and is now serving different consequences than everyone else who did the same thing.
Well, because he got hurt.
because he got hurt.
Yeah.
Because
Really.
everybody else got to pick their game, and now
right.
they're saying, nope, week 1 for you because you didn't serve it last year, regardless of the fact that you tore your ACL.
Right. It's not like he defied them and was like, no, I'm not sitting out, you know?
And again, let's go back to why he's suspended in the first place. It's not because he was getting money from the university like Johnny Manziel, who allegedly his parents were rich and had oil money, because we both know that wasn't the case.
Oil money, yeah.
That wasn't the case.
Right.
No, it's because he signed an autograph from a fan who is willing to pay him for it. Illegal at the time, but let's not act like he burned down a university.
Right.
Like, I mean, what are we talking about, man? This is so obnoxious.
And again, I understand the suspension, but the problem is the two biggest things are, one, he doesn't get to pick the game anymore because he tore his ACL, and two, the exact opposite's going on with Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
It's contradictory, and it's
bullshit, honestly.
Yes, and from an organization like the NCAA that says they care about the athletes, they care about the physical health, the well-being, all that of the student athlete, and very much emphasizes the student part, but does not want to acknowledge that these are guys who put their health on the line every day to go play this sport. In 5 minutes before it was legal, this guy took an autograph, and now, because of an injury, has to serve it against one of the best opponents, if not the best opponent that LSU will play all year.
Whoa, okay.
It's crazy.
It's not, right?
It's crazy. I said one of, if not.
It's not. Their second best opponent of the year. Let's leave it there.
Well, we can reconvene at the end of the year and talk about if they were or weren't, but I'm just saying there's an argument. And that's not the argument we're having right now. But you can't shake your head like this.
No,
like
I
there's
did.
no argument.
I did. But that's okay. Yeah, that's real dumb. In closing, that's really, really bad.
Mm-hmm. The problem is they need to be consistent across the board. I'm not mad that he's suspended. I'm mad at the manner in which this all took place.
Yeah. The whole, yeah.
All right. Let's talk about some quarterback situations around the country.
Man, so first of all, let's talk about Ole Miss and Bama, right?
Okay.
So you and I got on the phone before this, and we pretty much were Saban and Kiffin. We decided, right? You and I put our foot down. We agreed on Dart and Milroe, correct?
Yeah.
How confident are you on both?
On
each.
Look, I'm very clearly not. I wasn't at fall camp for either of them. But I think it's safe to say that Jalen Milroe is going to be the starter at Alabama. I think he most fits the profile that Alabama's gone with at quarterback for the last several years. I don't think he's on that same level by any means.
No, absolutely.
But he most fits the profile that they're looking for. Now, Tyler Buchner has that same potential. He can be a guy to use his legs and extend plays. He can be a guy that puts it on the ground, but he doesn't have the speed and he doesn't have the physical strength that Jalen Milroe has.
Yeah, for sure.
And to be fair, Jalen Milroe has a bigger arm.
Yeah.
So I don't see a way that Tyler Buchner gets the nod over Jalen Milroe. I think at this point it's truly down between Milroe and Ty Simpson.
Really?
I do.
I think Buckner's got the better arm.
In terms of accuracy, maybe?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes. But yeah, I think when it comes to power, right? When it comes to the deep ball, I'm giving the nod to Milroe, right? I think I'm less confident in that answer as I am in Jackson Dart.
Okay.
I think if any of the transfers that came in, right? Either of the transfers that came in, Spencer Sanders or Walker Howard would have done anything to even really challenge it, it would have been a bigger story, right? We're not talking about, a group of 5 quarterback battle. Mm-hmm. We're not talking about a lower conference quarterback. Like, we're talking about Ole Miss at the end of the day, right? Had they done something even, challenging it, right? I think it would have been a bigger story.
I find it very interesting. And look, of course, hindsight's 2020, but talking about Ole Miss, like you said, why did Spencer Sanders go there?
That's bad. That's poor. And well, go ahead.
I wonder what they did to get him on campus. He
Yeah.
must have been in love with the scheme Lane Kiffin presented in front of him. or
that he'll never get to use.
Yeah, he may potentially. I don't know. I think Jackson Dart's the starter, like you said.
I agree.
But there's a plethora of colleges that Spencer Sanders could have gone to and started immediately. He could have gone to well, first of all, he could have stayed at Oklahoma State.
Yeah.
He could have stayed at Oklahoma State and been a starter on that team. Or, and this is just, an interesting one of the best defenses in the country, he could have gone to Iowa and immediately been a starter. He could have gone to the SEC West like he did with Ole Miss, but he could have gone to Auburn before Peyton Thorne went there, been an immediate starter.
Yeah.
Instead, he went to Ole Miss, who was one of the best offensive teams in the country.
Possibly?
Potentially Florida.
Yeah.
But like I said, he went to Ole Miss, one of the best offensive teams in the country down the stretch. And of course, they fell off. They lost the last couple games. But in November, late October, early November, they were a top 10 offense in all of college football. I want to say they were number 1 in late October.
Yeah.
He could have
rushing for damn sure.
Rushing, yeah. Rushing. But the point is, he could have gone to a school like Auburn or Florida or Iowa or an ACC school and been the guy, been that missing piece that they needed. Instead, he went to Ole Miss, a team that was already a prolific offense, who was competing with really good teams and was ranked in the top 10.
Who's returning a quarterback.
Yeah.
Not only has a guy stepping into shoes already, which is really not a super favorable position to go to, but had a starter already.
And not as an underclassman like Walker Howard.
Correct.
He did it as a senior with 1 year of eligibility left. It just really makes me question the reasoning there. I don't think Spencer Sanders is a bad quarterback, but I don't think he'll start for Ole Miss. And I hate the situation for him, but he transferred there.
Yeah. I mean, you got to think, bro. You go to Auburn and are decent enough. Like, you're a 3rd, 4th, 5th round draft pick, right? Could be.
Potentially, potentially.
Well, a whole lot more potential than he has now.
Yeah.
Right? And he's a good quarterback. He's not elite. I wouldn't call him great. He's a good quarterback. So that's bad. But I'm like 90% in my opinion. Again, not really in fall camp or anything like that, right? But on Jackson Dart, and I'm probably about 75% on Jalen Milroe.
Yeah. Jalen, the Alabama situation is tricky because we've seen Nick Saban name a starter literally with Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
Game 1. Jalen Hurts wasn't starting versus USC.
Right.
But by the end of the game was the starter, and we saw what he did there.
Right.
And then you stay on that same player. Jalen Hurts got replaced. I hit the mic for sure.
Yeah, punch it. See if you can.
But
the national championship.
Jalen Hurts got replaced. So I don't know. Look, I think that Nick Saban can run somebody out there, and it doesn't mean that's who it's going to be in week 4.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I expect Jalen Milroe to get the first snap there, though.
Can I get a dark horse? Spencer Sanders transfers out in season.
He doesn't have any eligibility.
Yeah, dude.
What are we saying?
Can't do that. I'm literally thinking, I'm going to go for like a
He's going to finish the season somewhere else?
Yeah.
What are you saying?
No,
he's not. That's not how it works.
Well, well, maybe his plan, right, was to, no, it wasn't that. And then I'm like, well, he could have.
No, he can't.
No, he's going to be a backup.
Speaking of somebody who has done a lot of transferring before ever getting...
Before transferring.
Yeah, before getting to college, Jaden Rashada is going to start at Arizona State.
And this is where I was going with I was trying to butt in for whatever reason about the Spencer Sanders thing. They had to have promised him something, right? With all the schools that he was between, Florida, right?
Florida, Miami.
With what Florida has going on and what Miami has going on, my God, at quarterback, right? Or not even at quarterback, right? Just the program. Like, send me, right? I want to be the quarterback there.
Yeah.
We were all like, Arizona State, what are we doing? I mean, to me, he had some sort of freaking affidavit or whatever. I was like, I'm starting. I know that's impossible. But like they told him he'd be the starter day 1. And obviously,
well, it didn't look that way in spring.
Oh, I'm not saying he didn't earn it.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I mean, obviously he stepped in knowing there was a shot.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's one of how many true freshmen that you can think of? This is not like trivia.
Yeah.
Dante Moore, Rashada.
Dante Moore's not named the starter, but I think we all expect him to start.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, again, I'm not trying to spend a billion years on this, but can you think of any others? There's really not many.
Yeah.
Alva doesn't start. Holstein doesn't start. Like,
Yeah.
So that's it's impressive for sure.
Yeah.
But hey, man, go to freaking somewhere else, right?
Why? If you could start.
I'm with you. Because honestly, like, and you'll never hear me say this and mean it, right? But in this age, ball and dip, ball and transfer. Like, I hate it, right? I don't want that to be the case. But go for freaking 3,500 this year, rush for 10 touchdowns, pass for 25 and dip.
Yeah, I can't get on that train with you.
Right? No, I'm with you. I don't want, but my point is, like, that might be the MO. So everybody else freaking does, and then go back up freaking Jackson Dart. But anyway,
could be. Last year Cade McNamara lost his spot to JJ McCarthy at Michigan. He's now at Iowa with Kirk Ferentz. He got injured in one of their scrimmages in fall camp. Kirk Ferentz is optimistic that he's going to start week 1. Cade McNamara doesn't seem to be quite as optimistic.
Yeah.
They did an interview with him after practice, asked how his injury was coming along, if he was going to be available for week 1. He very reluctantly said he was progressing and then failed to comment further. So something tells me we don't see a timeline on his return.
Yeah, not week 1.
Not week 1. And that is excruciatingly concerning for Iowa.
Yeah.
Why would you say it's not?
It is, right? But
for a team that had an offense as bad as it was last year,
I understand.
To bring in a quarterback like Cade McNamara, which would elevate the level of their offense.
It's fair. I might have myself. But yeah, I mean,
which would elevate the level of their offense, considering they have one of the best defenses in the country, truly.
Yeah.
Now he's not gonna play week 1, at least allegedly. That's what we believe. Yeah, I mean that's tricky. Now I don't think they're in danger of losing week 1, but
no.
But yeah, I mean this is tough. If this ends up being a nagging injury that stays with them for the course of the season, then they can go from being a true contender for their division, not for the
I like that.
Not for the Big Ten, but
I still like Wisconsin, but yes,
a contender for their division to being Iowa, being a poor a poor offense is what I mean. Iowa's a good team. They always win. They always win 8 or 9 games. I think in 2015 or 2016 they went undefeated in the regular season and lost the Big Ten championship game. But hear me. I think that's what's going on here. If this ends up being a nagging injury that prevents Cade McNamara from excelling this year, then I think their ceiling is another 8 or 9 win year.
Right.
And they can say that was a good year and they had one of the best defenses, but they didn't see their potential because their offense was not as good as it could have been.
Right. And I hate it for Cade, man.
Yeah.
The stuff that he's been through. I mean, he's a good quarterback. That's rough.
Yeah. What else?
They're back to being Iowa. Wow.
Well, I think that's what that is, though. And
that's why I was. Whenever you were like, that's concerning, I was like, for what?
And that doesn't mean I think Iowa is a horrible football team. That's not the case. I think if they win 8 or 9 teams, you're a good team. You're not competing for a national championship or a playoff spot. But it's hard to go win 8 or 9 games, especially when you're in the Big Ten or the SEC. Sometimes even the Big 12. Mm-hmm. Like it's difficult to go do that, and they do
Pac-12.
And they do it every year. Yeah. So that's not a shot at Iowa, but it means their ceiling is not winning the conference or even sniffing the playoffs.
Right.
So.
Or the division, possibly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Without him.
All right. So we got through the news, some of the quarterback situations. We're back to football. We have football this weekend. It is week 0. We don't have any super entertaining games, but we have games, and damn it, I'll be entertained.
We got a freaking 3-point spread on here, bro. What do you mean? We have a 1.5-point spread. Yeah, it's not entertaining.
I hear you.
That's good football.
You're talking about Ohio at San Diego State and UTEP at Jacksonville State.
That's the one. Locked in, bro. I'm hyped.
All right, so let's talk about it. Ohio at San Diego State. San Diego State's a 3-point favorite.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Ohio for the upset.
Are you? Ohio is interesting.
They are.
They're
They're not interesting. Don't say that, Joe.
They are. I think Tulane is probably the best G5 school, best G5 team this year.
No doubt.
And it's not particularly close.
It could, yeah.
I mean, considering that
the Sun Belt always has a couple good teams, right? Marshall, those guys. But anyway, I agree.
Yeah. But the point is, Tulane's toughest game is going to be Ole Miss, and other than that, they don't really play anybody.
Right.
So
I mean, they're the best team. And they might finish the highest.
They'll rank the highest of any G5 school,
I agree.
in my opinion. Ohio, though, is outside of Tulane and maybe some of those Sun Belt teams like, I don't know, Troy, maybe, like some of those teams over in the Sun Belt. Ohio's interesting. I think they're not competing for anything. They're not going to be ranked at the end of the year,
Right.
but they could be one of the better G5 schools that could, I think, win a lot of games for their conference.
Right. Yeah.
I'm going to take them for the upset as well.
Love it. Let's go. I'm hype about that. You're saying it's not going to be a good game. We're looking at upsets. Come on, bro. It's going to be a great weekend.
I don't think it's a game that will matter in the grand scheme of college football, but it will be fun to watch a college football game.
Iowa doesn't matter in the grand scheme of college football.
Yes, they do.
I mean,
bro.
my God.
Yes, they do.
We just talked about Arizona State. All right, keep going.
All right, Navy and Notre Dame in Ireland. This is the rare home game for Notre Dame. Come on.
Dude, shut up, bro.
The Fighting Irish.
Wow. Yeah, they're a 21-point favorite. Y'all will hear about this game a little bit later. I'm going to take Notre Dame in a nice big one. They might cover the spread.
Yeah.
I think they cover the spread.
Yeah, this is I can't wait to see Sam Hartman
Me too.
in that offense. Also, Aldrich Estime. Like, I want to see them. This is interesting because Navy is going to be a team that's going to run the ball a lot. They might not throw the ball this game. I mean, who knows?
Right.
But I'm interested to see how Notre Dame counteracts that. I don't think this is going to be a close game.
No.
But I'm interested to see if they're going to cut Sam Hartman loose and let him throw for 225 and 2 or 3 touchdowns, or if they just say, hey, we'll match your run game with Aldrich Estime and see what happens. Regardless, I do like Notre Dame to win by 3 or more possessions.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think they cover.
San Jose State at USC. USC is a 30.5-point favorite.
And there's no way. These odds, by the way, are all from DraftKings. There's no way that they gave them 3 for the home field advantage. They don't have any fans.
They have fans. They're one of the biggest brands in the country. The problem is people don't go to their games.
So on a neutral field, right? 30.5 points. Dude, nuts. But I'm going to take them to cover 30.5.
Yeah.
I think they score. They could score in the 60s.
We were talking about this in the shop today. Jonah, one of the guys here, was
shout out.
He was asking if USC minus 30.5 is a safe bet, and I was like, well, I'm fairly certain USC is going to score 45 to 50 points in this game.
Oh yeah.
The problem is, are they going to give up 15?
They could.
They very well may.
But the way I look at it, dude, like on a serious note, I'll never bet a spread this big ever.
Yeah,
literally anything can happen under the sun that would.
Once you have
Caleb Williams tweaks his knee, like just this much, and like limps a little bit, they're taking him out for the rest of the game because nobody gives a shit about it.
Yeah. And
so that happens, and the backup just has an off game. They win 35 or 42-7. No, that covers. I'm lying. Yeah, 42-14 and don't cover. And everybody's pissed off.
The problem with these types of games, whenever you have spreads getting into 4 possessions, is when you're up 4 possessions, you take your foot off the gas.
You're pulling.
Yeah, You're not risking injury in those situations, especially not week 1. Now, in week 1, maybe you're still working out kinks and using it as a practice game, so you do leave your guys out there.
Right.
Not entirely sure what they're going to do in that regard.
It's Lincoln Riley. He's foot on the gas.
Yeah, but
maybe not with Caleb Williams, but
yeah. I am interested to see that offense. I want to see all the receivers over there. Brendan Rice, work him in. Caleb Williams, let him air it out. But they know what they can get out of Caleb Williams.
You think he's pretty good, Caleb Williams?
Yeah, he's
best player in college football. Yeah,
he's pretty good, I'd say.
Mm-hmm.
USC is gonna win this one, huge. But garbage time scares me. I'm not gonna take them to cover 30.5. They very well could, but who knows?
I'm not gonna bet it. I think they end up covering it.
Yeah.
But again, I wouldn't touch it.
Yeah.
Not at 30.5.
Hawaii at Vandy. Vandy's a 17.5-point favorite.
I like Hawaii to cover, but I like Vandy to win.
Okay.
Okay, time out. Right. Have you seen Vandy's renovations?
Yeah. Or lack thereof, you mean?
Yeah. You seen Yeah.
Vandy has
demolitions. Have you seen Vandy's demolitions?
Mm-hmm.
Hey man, what the hell happened?
They have cranes all of 8 inches from the end zone right now. Right now.
They have like, yeah. Hey man, we're talking about 48 hours, right? We're talking about the game ending in 48 hours.
Yeah.
What the hell are they doing, man? I don't really want to like talk about it because I really don't care. But that's nuts.
It looks like a custom field in like Madden when you're playing in like the boneyard or something, and there's just cranes everywhere.
Boneyard. That's fire.
Yeah, it looks like the old street football game on PS2.
Oh yeah,
dude.
Yeah.
Where you can
NFL
jump
Blitz.
off the walls and stuff.
Yes.
That's hard.
Yeah, and pitch everything.
Yeah.
I like Vandy in this one. I think they beat the piss out of Hawaii.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know that they cover.
I could easily see it. I've seen several people say Vanderbilt may be the worst Power 5 team in the country, and I think that is
such a bad take.
I think that is an abysmal take.
Are you being dead at? Like, you've really seen that?
Yes.
Dude, that...
On like very well-known platforms.
Oh. Do you have any names?
I mean, I'll tell you later. I'm not going to name drop, but
Dude, that's so bad.
one of the biggest names in college football said that.
I don't know that they're bottom 10.
Let's name off.
No, and they're not bottom 10. I mean, we can start rolling, right?
Roll them off.
We'll start with the big... they're the worst team in the SEC. Would you agree?
Not close.
Okay, so let's move on from the SEC. The Big Ten.
Okay.
Indiana,
Rutgers,
right?
Northwestern. Mm-hmm. I think that's fair.
I mean, shit. Yeah, maybe so.
All right, ACC. Boston College.
Yeah.
Georgia Tech.
No.
You're saying Georgia Tech's better?
Absolutely.
I think that'd be a good. I'd want to see that.
I
game.
do. I would too.
I'd want to see that game. Georgia Tech may win it, but I'd want to see that game.
Yeah, I think that's a good game.
Virginia Tech.
Yeah, no, they beat Virginia Tech. I need to look. I need a word bank. That looked real weird on camera.
All right, let's go to the Pac-12. Cal, Stanford, Arizona.
Yeah,
I mean,
I don't know that they're bottom 10, and I'm upset about it. Right? Like, it's gotten to me or no? All right.
Now here's the thing, right? Hawaii, if they were Power 5, might be the worst team.
No, yeah. Mm-hmm. So hey, hear me out, right? Colorado.
Well, we don't know what we're getting out of Colorado
Just to
this
be,
year.
I mean, no, like.
Yeah, but we don't know what we're getting out of Colorado this year.
They were the worst team in college football last year.
Last year. We're talking about this year. They brought in all new transfers.
Colorado, Rutgers,
I'm
Indiana.
not including Colorado, though.
Rutgers, Indiana, Boston College, Virginia, Stanford, Kansas.
Not Kansas.
Okay. Northwestern.
Northwestern for sure.
Okay. They say Georgia Tech. I'm looking at this, but I didn't include some of them because I didn't agree. Yeah, dude. I mean, wow. This had Kansas as the worst team in college football, this last source.
No.
Yeah, no.
No.
Who's the worst team in college football? Power 5.
There's a strong case for any of Northwestern, Indiana, Boston College.
Period. Yep. End of story. That was my 3. Now, Rutgers is bad. They're poor at the sport.
Old Magic Mikey over there from New Jersey. Sorry, buddy, but
There's a reason I left.
It was Rutgers football.
yeah.
Yeah, not good.
All right, yeah, no. Vanderbilt's gonna win big.
That's the worst take, though. I'm pissed. All right. Vanderbilt's going to win, and now I'm going to take them to cover.
Okay.
I think they heard that from the mystery gentleman. No, the mystery dumbass. And,
Wow.
I went there.
Wow.
I don't know him. I don't know who it is. I could throw because
got a lot more subscribers than we do. I'll tell you that.
Oh, he has to. If you saw him, right? But yeah, JD, that's a bad take.
No, it wasn't him.
All right, I just threw a stab out there.
I like JD.
Oh no, I like them all. But wow, that's poor.
All right.
Josh Pate. All right.
It wasn't JP
messing,
either.
bro.
You're
I'm
just going with all the
ahead, bro.
acronym names,
Go
aren't
ahead.
you? All right. UTEP is -1.5 at Jacksonville State.
Can I go on record here?
Go ahead.
I don't know anything about these two teams. I will also go on record to say Jacksonville State blows them out.
All right. I'm going to take UTEP just because you took Jacksonville State.
That's lunch.
Is that the lunch bet of the week?
That's
lunch
lunch.
bet. Lunch bet. I got
Mikey,
UTEP.
run a graphic with my finger. Thank you. Go ahead. All right.
bet.
So, yeah, lunch.
All right. I'll take UTEP. All right.
You're taking the favorite. I like that.
Yep.
They're going to blow them out.
All right. FIU at La Tech. La Tech's 11.5-point favorite. Thoughts there? FIU has those new Miami Vice uniforms. So that's
Right.
big.
Yeah.
That's big.
I have to say this too, man. Like the FIU posted the graphic for that, right? And we used it, right?
Yeah, of course.
It sounded weird, but like we put it out.
Yeah.
And I literally looked at it and I was like, Mikey. I was telling Joe, I was like, Mikey, that's a horrible graphic. I was like, why, dude? Why would he have that background? Like you can't see the jerseys. Tell Mikey to take it down and make a new graphic.
You thought Mikey made it. You were
No,
like,
that's
you
what I'm
can't
saying.
even tell what the jersey looks like.
I'm like, dude, what?
That was their graphic.
I mean, literally, that's what was leading me to say Louisiana Tech covers.
Yeah.
Because I was literally like, Mikey, you're fired or something. like, dude, that is the worst graphic I've ever. I mean, yeah, that's bad.
I like La Tech in this one too.
To cover,
Why not?
roll the dice. Yeah, I'll cover. All right.
UMass at New Mexico State. New Mexico State's a 7-point favorite here. The Lobos.
I'm a huge UMass fan.
He's not.
I'm gonna take the upset. I'm gonna take University of Massachusetts to at least cover
That's what I was gonna say.
and beat New Mexico State.
I wasn't gonna take them to win, but I was gonna take them to cover. If I had to pick an alternate spread here, I'd go New Mexico State -2.5.
Okay,
So that's where I'm at.
you ran that.
Yeah. All right.
No, wait. Why?
Huh?
Why?
New Mexico State, they have more letters in their name, I think. And no, they don't, because University in Massachusetts.
Massachusetts is a long ass.
Yeah. No, look.
Guys, this sounds dumb, but like on a serious note, like we cover the Power Five.
Yeah, it is what it is.
If this was not week 0, we wouldn't even be talking about this stuff.
We covered the Power 5 in ranked games, man, but we got football, so we're all about it.
Yeah, and I'm a big, like I said, huge UMass guy.
One way to look at it is what mascot would win in a fight. So would it be the New Mexico State Lobos, which is a wolf, or
Right.
the UMass Minutemen, which is like a patriot?
Ooh,
Give me the Minutemen.
are they carrying?
Yeah. Do you not know what a minute, like,
Stop.
okay.
I mean,
Of course they're carrying, bro. That's going back to the,
yeah, I'm taking the Minutemen
yeah. It's very simple.
to cover.
Yeah, it's very simple. I'm not, the Minutemen might not win, but damn it, they'll lose by less than 7.
Right.
What?
I just love it, bro. I love the passion.
All right, we do have locks. We're getting back to our locks this year. Last year, we took a poor approach, I'll be honest. We didn't.
And what happened?
Well, here's the problem. It felt like every week we were 3 for 4 in our locks.
Dude, what's honestly picking with the spreads, I felt great.
I was ecstatic about that.
Me too.
So what we did last year is we did put out individual picks, and we were damn near 75%, which is I'm ecstatic about that. But
Clarify one more time. Using spreads,
yeah,
not alt spreads.
yeah, just using spreads. Now, if you parlayed them, then you didn't hit any.
Not
But
the first.
But again, if you took them individually, which we told you, or we didn't
came out
recommend
huge.
you to do, but that's what we were giving.
Yeah.
You would have came out.
I mean,
Well
so
ahead.
many units.
Yeah, you would have killed it. This year we are changing it up a little bit. We're actually not doing individual games. We're only locking parlays, but all alt spreads. We feel really good about the numbers this year. So if you want to go back and look at the Notre Dame versus Navy game, right? The spread on that is 21 points. We went ahead and knocked that down. We're taking Notre Dame -13.5. That's -250 odds. We're parlaying that with Vanderbilt -9.5, which is down from Vanderbilt -17.5, and USC -17.5, down from USC -30.5. So altogether, that's a 3-pick parlay using alt spreads that gets you to a total of +141 odds. So you have plus money odds, essentially cutting all those spreads in half. How do you feel about that? You feel good about that?
I love it. I love it.
I mean, we locked it, so you better.
No, I mean, but like it's almost dare I say too easy.
Yeah.
I mean, again, we're locking them, right?
Yeah. And like I said earlier, whenever it comes to USC, like we very much are confident USC is going to win that game by 17.5 points. We're not going to take them to win by 4 possessions because you never know what happens. Do they take their foot off the gas? All that kind of stuff. Navy, let's go through the concerns, right? I feel very comfortable about this.
I expect all of these teams, and sounds crazy, to cover their original spreads. And with that being said,
so why did we lower the spreads to lock it, right? Because if we're comfortable with them taking the original spread, why did we lower it? I'll explain why I wanted to. With Navy, I feel like the type of ball they play, they very well could control the time of possession by a significant margin. So we're not going to take Notre Dame to win by 3 whole possessions. They just got to win by 2 touchdowns. And I think that is extremely achievable. It's minus 250 odds. Vanderbilt at Hawaii, minus 17.5. Drop that down. They don't even have to win by 2 touchdowns. They just got to win by 10 points. Feel great about that at home. And then again, USC. I think they beat the brakes off of San Jose State.
Yeah.
But we're not expecting them, or we're not asking them to go out and win by 4 possessions.
Right.
So I feel good about that. And again, total odds come out to plus 141. So
if you want a single lock, like yes, it's the one with the best odds to happen. But dude, USC minus 17.5. I mean, you can take that to the bank.
Yeah, no doubt.
I mean, I dead ass might bet 450 on it. Take my $100 and be done with it.
Yeah.
Because that's about as lock gets.
Yeah.
I can't wait to be clipped everywhere. It'll be fun.
All right. So got through the news, got through games for week 0, went ahead and put our locks out there. Last segment of the show, going into the season, we're doing 10-second takes. We're going to find a take on Twitter about college football, give our opinion on it. What you got?
Can I give a little 10-second take right now myself?
Does it pertain to what we're about to say?
No, but it's super quick.
Go ahead.
Where are you? Why did we make it take, right? Alliteration, is that fair to say?
Yeah.
Where are you at on a 10-tick take?
I've had enough. All right, so I guess.
Don't look at me.
You know you like that, though.
I didn't, though.
A little 10-tick take?
10-second take. So formerly Twitter, better known now as X, there's an account on there, College Football Blue Bloods, at Blue Bloods Bias, listed their playoff prediction as below.
Yeah.
1 Bama versus 4 Florida State, and 2 Penn State versus 3 USC. What you got?
Yeah, so let's get the records straight here, right? Bama's, I very much assume, undefeated. 13-0 here. Adds a
Gotta
1
be.
seed.
Gotta be.
Okay. 2 is Penn State, probably a 1-loss conference champion. I'd assume he has them. 1-loss Big Ten champion is the 2 seed.
Okay.
Over, I would assume a 1-loss ACC and a 1-loss Pac-12 champion.
Okay.
Not in that order. Would you agree?
I could see that. I would imagine. I don't know, dude. I don't see a way that Penn State goes undefeated, beating both Ohio State and Michigan. So yes, I could see that potentially, but it would be very interesting to me to only have one undefeated team in the college football playoff. Also, not mentioned in this scenario is Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan.
Yeah.
And Clemson.
And with that exact thing that just came out of your mouth being said, there's an easy way. I guess easy. There's a definite, clear way for all 4 of these teams to make the playoffs. I don't have any of these 4 teams in my playoffs. Even USC. And to me, they have the best shot out of these 4 teams.
Yeah. So you're saying there's a clear path, but
oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
These are 4 phenomenal football teams. But I don't. I mean, no. Man. Well, first of all, go ahead.
Bama's got a much more difficult route than Georgia.
Absolutely.
Simply because they have to play Georgia.
And they'd have to go through each other.
They have to go through each other, but I think Georgia's a tougher matchup for Bama than Bama is for Georgia. That being said, Bama gets LSU at home. Georgia does get Tennessee on the road. So that's tricky. I guess there's an argument. Regardless, I do think Georgia, let's say Georgia and Bama both get to the SEC championship. I imagine Georgia would be a favorite.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's tricky. I don't see Bama getting in. I don't see there being a way that Bama gets in and Georgia does not.
Yes, because you have two undefeated
In this scenario,
division champions. They play in the championship. A one-loss Georgia gets in. If their loss was a one-loss, Georgia gets in.
especially if their only loss is to number 1 Bama undefeated.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I see if Bama's number 1, I think Georgia's in at 4 or 3.
You say that though, but let's talk about it because we have 4. I mean, I'm 100% assuming, but 100% sure. We have 4 conference champions in here.
Okay. Penn State would have to be in, assuming they win over Michigan and Ohio State.
Absolutely.
And win their conference.
Yeah. Same with Florida. There's no way any of these are not conference champions.
But
None of these teams could get in without one.
But depending on where USC, I agree. But depending on where USC's loss comes, I think the strongest argument here is Bama, Penn State, and Florida State, because Florida State have to play LSU in Orlando, and then they would have to play Clemson in the regular season, and then very likely have to play Clemson again. So if they get a win over LSU and 2 wins over Clemson, it's not close. They're in.
Yeah.
And if they're a one-loss team and that one loss is to Clemson in the regular season and they avenge that, they're in because they have one loss and have beaten everyone they played.
Yeah.
Even with that one loss. So I think the 2 strongest arguments, and I think Penn State is probably the most unlikely of the 4 teams.
I would absolutely agree.
But if there's an argument, given this scenario, I think the weakest argument is USC at 3.
Key is too, like Penn State, my phone died, it's not close. Penn State at 2, because of exactly what you just explained, makes no sense. It's undefeated. An undefeated Penn State team. It has to be. To be at 2.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to have a 2-loss conference champion.
Right.
So back to Georgia, right? 1 loss, Georgia, whose only loss is to Alabama in the conference championship. We talked about this last week in a completely different situation. Are they in over an undefeated Penn State? We've now determined through, again, making it up, a 1-loss Florida State and a 1-loss USC. So the 2 conference champions are in, assuming Penn State and Alabama, which I don't have either of them as my champion. 1-loss Florida State with their loss, we'll call it Clemson, that's avenged. Mm-hmm. And USC's loss, we'll call it Utah, that's avenged. Why not? Does Georgia get in over either of them?
I think that's a bad scenario because I don't think it would be. I think if it's a loss over Utah that's avenged, that's a problem for USC because though Utah has won their conference the last couple of years, they've also had 2 or more losses in both seasons.
Right.
So if USC is avenging a loss to Utah who has 2 or more losses, Georgia's got to be in over them.
What about beating a 1-loss Oregon team?
Beating a 1-loss Oregon team is a much stronger argument.
I would agree.
That's a much stronger argument. I don't know. I don't see. Yes, there's a path for all of these teams individually to end in this position. But I think if you were to put odds on this playoff scenario, it would be plus.
Oh, it'd be dumb.
2,500 or something.
Oh, yeah. I think it'd be worse than that.
Yeah.
Well, being that it's, yeah.
I think there's too much that would have to happen.
I think the most likely playoff scenario would probably be like plus 2,500. Because you got to pick 4 teams.
No, yeah, you got a good point.
Yeah. So I think this would be like plus 25,000.
Although, you're right. You're right. That you make a good point.
But I'm just being nitpicky. Your point is it's a long shot.
It's a long shot. And I think if you were to take I think the best argument right now for what the playoff would look like, you'd have to throw in Georgia. You'd have to throw in Georgia at 1. You'd have to take either Michigan or Ohio State and probably both of them because right now they both have top 4 odds.
Right. The winner at 2.
Yeah.
Of the conference at 2.
So you have 1, 2, and 4 right now, and you got to figure out who that third team is.
Now the problem with that, right, is like I don't think there's a problem with that. The problem that I'm seeing you might have is a Penn State team that ruins. You have a 2-loss non-conference.
They very well could. I'm just talking about the most likely scenario.
Yeah.
I took Ohio State, Michigan, and Penn State to all finish with the same record and a 3-way tie in their division.
Right.
So yeah, do I think there's a possibility? Yes. but not as an undefeated Penn State.
Right.
So that's what I'm saying. If they're going to be number 2, they've got to be undefeated, in my opinion.
And then who?
I think at that point,
Clemson.
There's a one-loss ACC champion or an undefeated ACC champion. Obviously, an undefeated ACC champion's in.
Yeah, no doubt.
But then there's the outlier out of the Big 12.
SEC or you think?
I think there's the outlier out of the Big 12 in that scenario.
Texas?
I would imagine either Texas or Oklahoma.
I don't think either of those teams has a shot. I think
they both have a shot. I'm not taking either of them to get to the playoff, but I think that's one of the most likely scenarios because you definitely don't see. I don't think you see two conferences in a 4-team format that get 2 teams. So you're not going to see Bama and Georgia while simultaneously seeing Ohio State and Michigan.
Agreed.
And I think it's more likely that you see Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan than it is that you see any of the alternatives.
And I think there's a shot that the best 4 teams in college football are those 4 teams.
Yeah.
Georgia, Alabama, Michigan, Ohio State. But you're not going to see that ever.
Yeah. You're not. Well, this is the last chance you could.
You're damn right.
Yeah.
So, right.
So like I said, I think if you were going to try and figure out the best odds right now to build a playoff, I think you're looking at Georgia, either Ohio State or Michigan at 2, and the other at 4. And then I think
Clemson or Florida State at 3.
Yeah,
I agree. I would agree with that.
That's what I'm looking at.
Wait, why are we giving the nod to just because of SEC beating each other up?
What are you saying?
Why are we giving the nod to Ohio State over any of Tennessee, LSU, or Alabama?
We have a much more favorable schedule.
No doubt.
Ohio State does have to
better shot to be 11-1.
Ohio State does have to play Notre Dame. That's a tricky one for them. I do think they win it, but it's a tricky one for them. I don't think they win it. I think Notre Dame wins that game actually.
Right.
So I don't know, but again, we're just trying to pick the most favorable odds. Yeah. Okay. Well, let's round it out then. If you had to pick right now, I've never given my final college football playoff before the season. We're going into week 0. You want to give yours, and I'll give mine.
Yeah. Oh, I'm gonna go Georgia at 1, Michigan at 2, Florida State at 3, LSU at 4. And the only one I'm wavering on is Florida State Clemson. I am on record, and I still think Florida State splits those games. I truly think they split those games with Clemson. I just don't know which one.
For the sake of it, because the way the College Football Playoff Committee does it, they put out the graphic with the 4 teams and then the 2. Who's your first 2 out?
It would be a Ohio State and probably a Big 12 conference champion.
Okay.
Who probably would be 10-2 and or a Tennessee or a Bama.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm also going to go Georgia at 1. I'm going to go Georgia at 1. I'm going to go Michigan at 2. I'm going to go LSU at 3, and I'm going to go Florida State at 4. My first 2 out, I'd go Penn State at 5 and Washington at 6.
Washington at 6. I like that. I think it's tough not to put a Pac-12 in / first 2 out. But the problem is, and there's a lot of teams that file in super quick, right? Like you could literally, in my exact scenario, have the 7, 8, 9 be Pac-12, Pac-12, Pac-12. But and Penn State right in there too. But yeah, I don't hate that.
Yeah, and I think Ohio State is a better team than Washington. I think Ohio State is a better team than Washington. But I have Ohio State losing to Notre Dame and Penn State.
Yeah.
I think the way that the records would play out, that they would just fall further in the rankings. Because I also have Washington winning the Pac-12 with 2 losses.
Right.
So I have them right up there
Can't
at
get
6.
in, but right there.
Can't get in, but right up there. And then not far behind those teams, just rounding out the top 10. I'm not going to give all 3, but I think teams that could be in the mix, obviously Alabama. I think Texas is up there.
Clemson.
Clemson's up there, but I think they're probably a 2-loss team. And
At that point, right?
And I think both of those losses are probably Florida State,
Right.
to be honest.
Ohio State?
Oh, yeah, of course Ohio State. I said I think they're a better team than Washington.
Right.
I just think that because of the way their record
And how that's going to work
in
out,
my
yeah.
prediction would fall.
I agree.
They would fall lower. But yes, definitely top 10. So I'm interested to see how it all plays out, but that's kind of my outlook going into week 0. And I'm sure none of those teams will be in any of those spots by the time the season ends, but that's what I'm thinking.
Georgia's a pretty safe bet.
I feel like Georgia's safe.
I feel like that's, and I personally feel like Michigan's safe too.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's 3-4 filing in that we're kind of, that I am a little bit wavered on. Who's your champion?
I don't know. I don't think Georgia wins it. I think they are the best team in college football. They have questions at the running back right now, not in terms of the starter, but in terms of depth. They need to get a full season out of Carson Beck, obviously. Look, I think Georgia is the best team in college football, but it is so impressive that they went back-to-back. That's one of the hardest things to do. Hasn't happened since the 50s.
Right.
I don't see them going back-to-back. I think
You think Michigan finally wins a
I
playoff
think
game?
regardless of how good you are, that is the hardest thing to do. That is, if we've ever seen it, it's only been once. Was it Minnesota? Did Minnesota win 3 in a row like 900 years ago? Will you check that? Okay. Mikey's checking on that
Dude
right
said
now.
like 900. So
But no, I think truly, if Penn State gets in, it's going to be hard to beat them. I really do believe that. I think they're tricky. I don't know if they will get in, but I think if they get in, it's going to be hard to beat them. I think the same can be said about LSU. I think if LSU finds a way in, defensively, they're going to be a problem for whoever they play. But again, the depth can be an issue. It's kind of this similar. They're not as good as Georgia by any means, but the depth could become a problem in a similar scenario. Florida State can be really tricky too.
Bama's always a problem if they get in.
Oh yeah, because Bama's got the depth.
Bama gets in, Bama wins the Natty.
Yeah, they went 3-peat in 1934, 5, and 6.
Minnesota.
Stop playing with my
Yes.
dog.
I mean, I'm like that. I'm him.
Oh my God.
So, yeah. All right, who's your
Bama
one?
gets in, they win.
If Bama gets in, it's going to be really hard to beat them. If Bama gets in, it's because
Just
Jalen.
because they're really freaking good and they're, yes.
If Bama is in, it's because they are the most talented team in the country, which we already know, and Jalen Milroe worked out for
Is
them.
him. Yeah.
Jalen Milroe
And
worked out
hey,
for them.
I don't care if you're Georgia, you don't want to play that team.
No.
Because that means a lot of things clicked and shit. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Georgia's my national champion. Literally 3-peat. For that reason only. We saw last year how close they came to losing. I just don't think it's in them.
Yeah.
I don't think I got to talk about this for like 2 seconds. You can literally one word answer and then outro. I saw from SEC Bias, an account on Instagram, go follow if y'all made it this far. There was a comment, or not a comment. He made a graphic of past comments, crazy takes for every SEC team.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what kind of fan. Somebody said Georgia's going to drop 3 games this year.
No.
Outros.
Well, who would that be?
Hey, man, Tennessee and who?
In the regular season, I guess they're saying they could potentially lose to Tennessee.
Regular season.
Meh. They maybe could lose to Tennessee. I think they'll be a 10-point favorite.
About to pull it up.
They could. You're not. Your phone's dead. They could potentially lose to Tennessee. I would imagine. I don't think this to be the case, but if they're giving them 3 losses, I imagine South Carolina would be one of the teams they have them losing to.
I think that's fair.
And then they must think Devin Leary is gonna set the world on fire at Kentucky.
Yeah.
Because other than that, I don't think they lose to anybody in the SEC West. Either of their draws out of the SEC West. They're not going to lose to Florida. So again, if they're saying
Utah will, but
if they're not Utah, if they're saying that if they're saying 3 losses, including the SEC championship game, that's a much more believable argument. I would still disagree, but it's a much more believable argument.
And then a playoff loss, like a loss to Tennessee. No, they wouldn't get there. Yeah, never mind.
Yeah.
Even then, right?
So then you're looking at Tennessee, South Carolina,
and Bama.
but if they lose,
LSU.
but let's be very clear: if they lose to Tennessee and South Carolina, it's going to be tough for them to get into the SC championship.
Yeah, because the tiebreakers even.
Because that's 2 division losses.
Yeah.
So Tennessee would have a win over Georgia. They'd have to find 2 other losses.
Yeah.
You could say maybe Bama, and if they beat Bama, or if they lose to Bama and beat Georgia, they still have to find another loss for Georgia to get in. And no, they have to find 2 more. They have to find 2 more losses. So Georgia can't afford to lose 2 in the regular season.
Georgia won't lose 3 games.
No.
I'd put yeah. I'd put everything on.
Yeah. All right, man. Next time we get on here, we will have college football games under our belt, and we will be breaking down what happened and looking into week 1. So really excited about that. We finally made it. It's been a long off season, but we're here. Jim Harbaugh, just a reminder, will only serve 3-game suspension that he imposed on himself. So keep that in mind.
His choice.
See y'all next week.